In this video, we're going to talk about Elizabeth Taylor's famous daughters. Let's start with her daughter, Liza Todd. Born on August 6, 1957 in New York City, Liza entered the world already surrounded by the glow of celebrity. Her birth was considered a national event. Newspapers reported on her arrival with near-royal excitement, even her birth weight making headlines. Shortly afterward, Life magazine featured a cover photo of baby Liza nestled beside her glamorous mother, an image that captured the awe and obsession the public held for Elizabeth Taylor and her growing family. Liza was the only child born to Liz Taylor and her third husband, Mike Todd, a brilliant film producer and the only one of Taylor's husbands she never divorced. Tragically, Liza's life was marked by unimaginable loss almost before it had begun. On March 22, 1958, just 7 months after her birth, Mike Todd was killed in a fiery plane crash. Elizabeth was devastated. Friends and family said she never truly recovered from losing him. That grief, though quieted over time, became a constant undercurrent in Liza's childhood. In the wake of that tragedy, the void left by Mike Todd was filled, first, though controversially, by Eddie Fisher, who became Liza's stepfather. But it was Elizabeth's next great love, Richard Burton, who would make the deepest impact on Liza's young life. When Burton married Taylor, he legally adopted Liza and raised her as his own. Their bond was said to be profound. While she always reserved the title father for the man she never got to know, Mike Todd, Liza affectionately called Burton Dad. Elizabeth often said that Richard Burton, for all his demons and public flaws, was the finest stepfather any child could ask for. Their connection formed during one of the most publicly scrutinized relationships in Hollywood history, but behind the headlines, a real family took shape. For Liza, it wasn't about the fame or the diamonds, it was about navigating childhood between unimaginable privilege and personal heartbreak. Liza Todd charted her own path, one carved far from red carpets and flashing bulbs. From an early age, she displayed a quiet intensity and artistic inclination that led her down a more solitary, contemplative road. Her education was as worldly as her lineage. She attended a boarding school in Switzerland, then continued her studies at the Hornsey College of Art in London, eventually completing her training at the Otis Art Institute in Los Angeles. Each institution sharpened her skills and deepened her dedication to her craft. Professionally known as Liza Todd Tive, she emerged as a gifted sculptor with a specialty in equine and animal forms. Her sculptures, meticulously rendered in bronze, are celebrated not only for their technical precision, but for the emotional depth they convey. She's known for capturing more than anatomy. Her work seems to breathe with the inner life of her subjects. Among her most notable pieces are statues of legendary racehorses like Secretariat, a moving tribute to a beloved dog named Nashua, and a life-sized bronze calf for Gstaad, Switzerland, a place of deep personal meaning for her family. Her art has been exhibited and sold around the world, fetching prices from a few hundred to over $20,000, solidifying her reputation in the international art community. But despite her talent and lineage, Liza has always fiercely guarded her privacy. In 1984, she married Hap Tive, and together they had two sons, Quinn and Reese, before divorcing in 2003. She chose to settle in upstate New York, where she leads a peaceful life surrounded by animals and nature. Unlike others touched by the glow of Hollywood, Liza made a conscious decision early on. She would not be part of her mother's dazzling, chaotic world. Friends and family say she almost never mentions her famous background. Still, the connection was always there. As a child, Liza often accompanied her mother to film sets, absorbing the rhythm of a life she would eventually turn away from. Elizabeth Taylor, for her part, saw her late husband Mike Todd reflected in their daughter. His energy, his gestures, his spark. That resemblance, like Liza's presence itself, was quiet but undeniable. Although Liza Todd has largely remained absent from public roles within her mother's legacy institutions, her impact is deeply felt through the next generation. Her son, Quinn Tighe, has become a leading figure in carrying on Elizabeth Taylor's humanitarian work. As a trustee of the House of Taylor and an active force within the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, ETAF, Quinn represents the bridge between the private values his mother instilled and the public mission his grandmother championed. He speaks about Elizabeth with clarity and affection, not as a Hollywood icon, but simply as Grandma. His commitment to her cause is personal, rooted in family, not just fame. Liza's other son, Reese Tighe, is a musician who has also been acknowledged by ETAF for his support. While Liza herself remains out of the public eye, her approach appears to be one of quiet influence, entrusting her children to carry forward the torch of philanthropy and legacy. Through them, her values continue to echo in the work her mother once began. Now we arrive at Elizabeth Taylor's fourth and final child, Maria Burton Carson. Maria's beginnings were unlike any of her siblings. She was born in Munich, Germany around August 1st, 1961. The details surrounding her biological parents remain a mystery. At around 3 years old, Maria was adopted by Elizabeth Taylor, possibly during the final phase of her marriage to Eddie Fisher. When Taylor later married Richard Burton, he too formally adopted Maria, welcoming her into one of the most publicly scrutinized households in the world. But Maria's early years were not marked solely by fame. They were shadowed by serious health struggles. She was born with a congenital hip condition so severe it required nearly 24 surgeries during her childhood. Elizabeth Taylor, known for her larger-than-life persona, showed a different kind of strength in those moments. "I want her all the more because she's ill," Taylor once said. "Maybe I can do something to help." That sentiment reflected not just sympathy, but a profound maternal devotion. Both Elizabeth and Richard Burton poured themselves into Maria's care. Their devotion meant constant travel for treatments, as well as moments of deep emotional bonding amidst the chaos. Maria was raised amid flashing cameras and global headlines, but she also grew up in the arms of two people who loved her fiercely. Her story is one of survival, not just from physical pain, but from the tidal wave of attention that came with being the daughter of Hollywood's most famous couple. Maria Burton Carson, Elizabeth Taylor's youngest daughter, chose a life that quietly intertwined creativity, business, and legacy. While she inherited the sparkle of her mother's world, she expressed it in more grounded, behind-the-scenes ways. Maria found her artistic voice in fashion design, crafting beauty not in front of the cameras but through fabric, detail, and form. More notably, she co-founded the Carson Organization with her first husband, Steve Carson, a boutique talent agency that reflected a thoughtful engagement with the entertainment industry. This wasn't celebrity for celebrity's sake, it was strategy. It was autonomy. Maria positioned herself where power meets privacy, behind the scenes, not in the spotlight. There are also glimpses of a philanthropic spirit inherited from her mother. While Maria has remained mostly outside the glare of public activism, her daughter, Liza Carson, has stepped up in a more visible way. Liza serves as an ambassador for the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, ETF, continuing the legacy of service and advocacy that defined her grandmother's later years. It's a poignant reminder that the Taylor torch hasn't gone out, it's simply passed hands. Maria's personal life has unfolded with quiet dignity. She married Daniel Steve Carson in 1981, and the two were together for nearly 2 decades before divorcing in 2000. They had one daughter, Elizabeth Eliza Carson, born in 1982. In 2002, Maria married Tom McCown. The couple had a son, Richard McCown, reportedly born in 2001, before eventually separating as well. Despite being the adopted daughter of one of the most famous women on earth, Maria has made a deliberate choice to live away from the relentless gaze of the media. Her parenting reflected that commitment. Determined to shield her children from the whirlwind that shaped her own youth, Maria focused on privacy and groundedness. Still, she has made a few rare public appearances, standing proudly during Elizabeth Taylor's 75th birthday tribute and later honoring her adoptive father, Richard Burton, when his name was added to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Maria Burton Carson's story is not one of spectacle, but of substance. She's a woman who managed to forge an identity both rooted in and independent of an extraordinary legacy. Like her siblings, she carried the weight of her lineage, each in their own way. And while the world will forever remember Elizabeth Taylor as a cinematic icon, her children remember her as something far more intimate. A mother whose love, flaws, strength, and spirit continue to ripple through their lives and into the next generation. In the end, Elizabeth Taylor's legacy is not just etched in film reels or museum-grade diamonds. It lives on in the quieter, more enduring places, within her children and grandchildren, in their art, in their activism, and in the deeply personal ways they chose to live beyond the glare of fame. Each of them has wrestled with what it means to be born into myth, and each has carved a path of their own. Some stepped into the spotlight, others stepped far away. But all of them, in their own ways, have carried forward something essential: resilience, creativity, compassion, and an insistence on shaping life by their own terms. And now, the legacy is ours too. If Elizabeth Taylor's story, and the stories of those who knew her best, moved you, share this video. Leave a comment below. Which part of their journey struck you the most? And how do you carry the weight of your own family legacy? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There are so many untold stories beneath the surface of fame, and we're just getting started, because behind every icon is a family full of unsung legends.